National Director of Priests for Life. I am speaking to you on the Thursday night before Election Day. This will be re-aired at other times, but it is great to be with you tonight, and it is great to be with you for the simple purpose of helping all of you who are fired up about this election, who are ready to vote pro-life and pro-marriage, pro-family and pro-freedom and pro-America, but you need to know where the candidates stand. This is the most common question. We get people fired up for the election. We get them registered to vote. We convince them that they have a duty and a privilege of voting. They are ready and motivated. Now the only last piece of the puzzle is, where do these candidates stand on all these issues of importance? Who are they? I never heard their name before. How many times have you experienced going into a voting booth and looking at a list of names of total strangers? How many times is the first time that we read a particular person's name that's asking for our vote right then and there when we have to cast our vote? Well, the purpose of this program today is to give you more tools to find out more information about the candidates that are asking for your vote. You know, the interesting thing about it is they're trying to find more information out about you. Any smart candidate, any smart campaign, they're going to try to find out about you. They want to know who you are. They want to know that you're registered to vote. They want to know the way you voted in the past. They want to know what your interests are so that they can appeal to those interests. They want to know where you stand on the issues. Well, you want to know where they stand on the issues too. So you've got these candidates and you've got the voters, and they're both trying to know one another better and better. And the campaigns spend a lot of money, and they'll invest in a lot of technology and a lot of staff to try to get to know you and me better. Well, we're going to help you tonight to get to know them better. You know, there are a lot of tools out there, a lot of groups, and I want to thank the groups and the workers and the individuals and the organizations that have put together the kind of material I'm going to show you tonight. It is an immense amount of work. And to put together information about who these candidates are and where they stand on these issues, it depends upon the hard work of people who go out there and do the heavy lifting. They do the digging for the information. They have to interact with the candidates and the campaigns. Sometimes some of those candidates and campaigns are not very cooperative. So when you go at times to places where you want to look for the information about candidates, it says, well, the candidate did not respond to our questionnaire, or the candidate did not talk about his or her position on this issue, or no information was available. On the other hand, many candidates are more than happy to share the information about where they stand on various specific issues. Now, we're going to show you some of these tools that other groups have put together for you to know this information. And we're doing this for two distinct reasons. First, so that you can be fully informed about where the candidates stand. And you know, a lot of times it's relatively easy to get information about the federal level candidates, and they will have more name recognition, and they're out there more in the media, and they might be praised by some groups, criticized by others, and you get to know pretty quickly where they stand. That's those who are running for U.S. Senate, those who are running for the U.S. House of Representatives. And then once you start getting down onto the state level, once you start getting down onto the local level, some of your state representatives, your state senators, do you even know who they are? People that are running for, when you get even more further on the local level, school board races and city council and all these different things. And where do you go to find some of this information? That's what we're going to give you some guidance on right here tonight. We're going to need you to take some notes, and then we're going to need you to take some time, because I'm going to show you different resources. We are actually going to navigate together through some websites, and it all starts with our website, prolifevote.com. But I'm going to show you tonight some samples of the kind of information you can get if you dig deep enough. But then I'm going to have to ask you, brothers and sisters, in these coming days before Election Day, Take the time to explore these tools on your own. Sit with these websites, navigate through them, click around and browse, read and see the wealth of information that is here. Now, I'm giving this to you for two purposes, as I said. One is that you yourself are as fully informed as you can be and that you know where to go to find the information about who all these candidates are. The second reason, just as important, is that you point other people to this information, because there are so many people you can reach that I cannot reach. There are so many friends of yours, people who worship with you, people who work with you, people in your families. This is the time now, these are the tools here for you to use to make sure that they are informed about who these candidates are and what they stand for. Now, what we're going to look at is information gathered in a number of different ways. Let me give you a little background before we actually show you these websites. You know, you can find out where candidates stand from what the candidates themselves say. So again, a lot of them answer questionnaires. They'll tell you, they'll do speeches, and they'll say where they stand on different issues. But then, of course, actions speak louder than words, and you can tell a lot about these candidates, and we'll show you the information tonight, by what they do. And what I mean by what they do is if they are already in public office, if they are already a member of the House of Representatives, for example, or of the Senate, or of the state legislature, well, how did they vote in the past on particular issues? When a pro-life bill came up, did they vote pro-life or did they vote pro-abortion? When a bill came up on taxes, well, how did they vote on that? Military spending, whatever the bill might be. We're going to show you how you find that information. And then, of course, there's a number of other factors that you can look at to find out where a candidate stands. For example, who endorsed them? If a pro-life group endorsed a candidate, that's a pretty good sign that they're pro-life. If Planned Parenthood endorsed them, that's a pretty good sign that they're pro-abortion. Did the National Rifle Association take a stand on this particular candidate? What memberships do they have? And then you can even look at what donations they have received. Did they get a donation from Planned Parenthood or from some pro-abortion group? What donations have they given? That information is also publicly available. The candidate who's asking for your vote, what groups, what causes did they donate to? We're going to show you how to find that information. It's all very fascinating. And a number of groups rate the candidates. Let me explain to you rating, because again, when we go to these websites, you're going to see these ratings. Groups that stand for particular issues, let's use, again, in our cause, the pro-life cause, a key example is the National Right to Life Committee. When someone is running for public office, the National Right to Life Committee, in its effort to help you understand where those candidates are on the issues, will give them a rating, a score from 0 to 100%. And what that represents is how many times the candidate, having been in public office already, actually voted to advance the cause of the unborn. And so a high score is good. 100% means they voted pro-life every single vote that they faced. Score of 0% means they never voted pro-life on any vote that they faced. And some of them are somewhere in between, but actually most of them are either 0 or 100, interestingly enough, because they vote along party lines, and the Democrat Party is pro-abortion, the Republican Party is pro-life. So we're going to show you where to find all these things. Be ready to jot things down, be ready to share this video with others, be ready to lead others to this information, because knowledge is power. Information is power. It's essential not just to vote, but to make an informed vote. We don't want to go into a voting booth and throw darts at a wall and take a gamble or take a chance. We want to know as much as we can possibly know. So that's why we're here with you tonight. I want to take a little break and show you a couple of spots, and then we'll be back at the computer, and I'm going to show you where to get a lot of information about the candidates. So stay with us.
I feel that the greatest destroyer of peace today is abortion. a direct killing of the innocent child. It is really a war against the child. For the child is the greatest gift of God to the family. Any country that accepts abortion is not teaching its people to love one another, but to use any violence to get what they want. The greatest destroyer of love and peace is abortion.
FedUpPack is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hello, I'm Evangelist Alveda King, Director of Civil Rights for the Unborn. A praying America is a greater America. A working America is a greater America. A just America is a greater America. A vote for life makes America greater. Make your vote count. Vote pro-life.
I feel that the greatest destroyer.
Well, hi friends. Okay, we're sitting here at the computer and we're going to show you now how to navigate into all this information about where candidates stand. We're going to start, as we always do, with prolifevote.com. That is our main political website. And friends, if we talk about spending time on a website, I've got to urge you with all the strength I can, take a look in detail at our prolifevote.com, our political responsibility center. There are so many links. You see all these blue links here. They are major areas of information. We're going to look at one of them in just a moment, which is candidate information. But then we've got action alerts here that you can take during these days, a little message from me. Then we've got more information, candidates, prayer campaigns, what can I do? Many things you can do even in these last days before Election Day. Election resources, how do I know where the candidates stand? That's what we're going to talk about now. The media, resources for clergy, churches, booklets, brochures, legal guidelines, and even down at the bottom here you see election material in Spanish. If you have Spanish-speaking friends, please go to that page, get the information that's there. But let's go specifically now to the topic of tonight. It's right here, candidate information. Now this page that we're going to here, you can also get to directly by a special web domain, and let me give this to you also for your notes, votinginfo.org. Votinginfo.org will get you right to this page. Know where the candidates stand. Now follow me here because I'm going to show you a number of links on this page to get a lot of detailed information. And one of the best ones is this one right here. It's called the iVoter Guide, the Internet Voter Guide.com. I'm going to click there now for you. It'll load in a second. And then I'm going to show you how to navigate this page. It is very, very, very helpful. iVoterGuide.com. Now, you see it says Florida here. It's already on Florida. It says 11/6/18 general election. Let's, first of all, let me navigate to and show you how to navigate to a state. So this box here shows the different states. Let's go to North Dakota here as an example. And then I'm going to say, you see here it says show races for either a specific address, you can put in your home address, or the whole state. So I'm going to stay on the whole state for now. You put the state in there, you click the whole state, and then you click here, show whole state. Once I click there, the name there is going to change to North Dakota. Here it is. There's North Dakota. And you see here a tab that says federal, because there is a federal election in North Dakota for U.S. Senate and one for U.S. House of Representatives. So there, right away, you see the names and you see a little thumbnail photo of the candidates that are running. Here's the Republican candidate, Kevin Cramer. Here's the Democrat candidate, Heidi Heitkamp. She's the incumbent in the U.S. Senate. And right away, what you can say, let's focus on these two Senate candidates for now, because I want to dig deep here with you. What you see right away is an analysis of their philosophy and their positions. Are they conservative? Are they liberal? And you see here, there's a little ladder here, from very conservative here at the beginning to very liberal here at the bottom, and everything in between. And then for this candidate, for example, Kevin Cramer, our Republican, you see the red bar goes all the way up to somewhat conservative. Okay, that's the rating that they have given this candidate here. However, when you look at the candidate Heidi Heitkamp, you see the bar goes up to the liberal rating. Now, you want to dig deeper and find out where these candidates stand. You click this button right here, Side by Side Candidate Research. So you get a general idea right from here. But watch what happens when you go to Side by Side Candidate Research. Then you've got the page broken down into two columns. Okay, Republican candidate Cramer right here, and everything on the left-hand side is going to be in reference to him. Heidi Heitkamp here, everything on the right side of the screen is going to be in reference to her. And let me show you some of the information that is here. One of the first things you see is vote ratings. Now, what does that mean? That means, as I said a moment ago, that certain organizations will give to candidates a rating between 0 and 100% favorability based on the votes that they've taken in the past. So let's see legislative vote ratings for the Republican candidate here. Ratings by conservatives. Look here. The National Right to Life Committee gives this candidate a 100% rating. So does FRC, which is the Family Research Council, another conservative group, gave him a 100% rating. That's pretty good. And then you see all these other groups that you can investigate in more detail. If I go back to the previous page, let's say now I want to see the legislative vote ratings on the right side of the screen for Heidi Heitkamp, the Democrat candidate. If I show on, well, first of all, you see an overall assessment here with the red and the blue. Okay, the blue more liberal favorability, the red very, very small conservative favorability. Of course, on the other candidate, it's the opposite. But when you go to show details, let me show you something very interesting here for this candidate. You will see ratings by liberals. Planned Parenthood shows up here. For Heidi Heitkamp, Planned Parenthood gave her a 100% rating. The ACLU gave her a 62% rating. This tells you a lot. The more you know about these groups and you see how they regard the candidate, that's some pretty clear guidance for you, the voter. Going down further on this page, again, the Republican candidate on the left side of the screen, the Democrat on the right. Let me show you this section here, donations. Donations, let's look, for instance, at the donations to the candidate. Who gave a donation to these candidates? And if I look, for example, at Heidi Heitkamp, show details for donations, okay? And you can see the blue means they got a lot of donations from liberal donors. The red means they got a lot of donations from conservative donors. So again, just the icon here is giving you a lot of guidance. But when you look at the details, you can see who donated to them. And my goodness, in this list, this long list of donors to Heidi Heitkamp, look whose name appears, Dianne Feinstein. Senator Dianne Feinstein donated to this particular candidate. Again, that says a lot if you know where liberal Dianne Feinstein stands. The same thing with Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono. She donated to this candidate, Heidi Heitkamp. Then there's another set of sources here, endorsements. And on the endorsements, let's take a look at who endorsed each of these candidates. If you look here on show details, the Republican Senate candidate Kramer running in North Dakota, well, by conservatives, he got the endorsement not only from the president, but look here, the National Right to Life Committee. So again, if you're wondering, is he pro-life? Well, it's clear here, National Right to Life endorsed him. Tea Party endorsed him as well. No liberals endorsed him. Okay, again, this says a lot. Go to the other candidate, and let's see right here, endorsements, show details. And you're going to say, well, okay, well, who endorsed her? Is there anything that can be learned by this? Look at this. The feminist majority, standing for abortion and LGBT rights. They gave her an endorsement. So you see how valuable this kind of guidance is. And there are a few places that you can go where you find all this information on a single website. And you can do this for every state in the country, all the contested races of that particular state. Now let's go back to where we were before. You can do the same thing you see here for the United States House of Representatives race, which is one of them there in North Dakota. But let's go back to the list of states for a moment. And let me go to Florida here where I live. Again, I'm going to click the whole state and click the button here, Show Whole State. And I want to show you something that happens here. In what we just saw in North Dakota, we looked at the federal races. You can do the same for Florida. There's a U.S. Senate race here as well. But I want to point out these other two tabs, because in Florida this year, there's also a statewide race. There's a race for governor. And so you have the same assessment of the different candidates for governor. Then you can go to Attorney General. So someone wants to know, how can I know what the candidates for Attorney General are thinking, or where do they stand? Here you go. It's all here. Chief Financial Officer, the Commissioner of Agriculture. There's a race here, and you can find out all this information about those candidates. And then going down even further, you know, this election and every election like we're having this year is very, very important for the state level. The state legislatures are extremely important. So much gets done on the state level. For example, again, in the pro-life arena, hundreds and hundreds of laws being crafted and passed to advance the protection of the unborn under state law. Now look what this does. When you select whole state and you go to the state tab, you see every race for the state legislature. Look at this. State Senator District 2, State Senator District 4, District 8, all the state senator races. And you'll find out all this information about each candidate. You keep going down, and you're going to see state rep. So state rep, District 3, District 4, District 10, District 11. And again, I mean, you know, this may be the first time you're seeing the names of these candidates, and you can find out all this detailed information. Now, another thing you can do with this particular website is show races for a specific address. Let's say I'm looking at this and I know I live in Florida and I want to know about my state representative, but I don't remember what district I live in. So I can click this box here and put in an address. Let me put in an address. This is just of a hotel in Orlando. Okay, so West Buena Vista Drive. Okay, and I'm going to choose the city of Orlando, Florida, zip code. And then, once I've put in the address, I click Show My Races. So you see the difference here. Instead of showing all the races across the state, it's now going to show your races. In other words, who's running on the state level that represents where you are according to the address you entered Let me click that. And then we're going to see that it's just going to show one of the state reps, of course, because you put in a specific address. So there's only one state rep for that area. And it happens to be District 44. The address I entered for there in Orlando is District 44. Then I see the two candidates for that specific race. So all of this is at iVoterGuide.com. Back on our candidates page, which you get to by votinginfo.org, you see iVoter Guide right there at the top. Now, there's a lot more on this page. Now, some of this I went over in a previous program where I showed you where to get voter guides. Now, that's another subject altogether, where you get a guide comparing the candidates back to back, and you can print it out and hand it out. A lot of that is at the prolifevote.com. Christian Coalition has voter guides. They can even be distributed by churches. But I want to show you at this point something a little more detailed that we did not go over the other day. And I already mentioned tonight that you should pay attention to a candidate's voting record. If a candidate is asking for your vote, but they've already been a legislator and they've voted many times on various issues, what you want to ask is, okay, actions speak louder than words. How did they vote? Let me see. So again, we're going to thank our friends at the National Right to Life Committee for putting this tool together that I am about to point out to you. And there's a couple of different links here. We're going to use this one right here. CapWiz is a tool that does what I'm about to show you. And let's just zoom in a little bit here on this page. Make this a little bigger. There you go. And you see here what it says. NRLC is National Right to Life Committee. So what we're about to see is information from the perspective of interested pro-life people. This is from a pro-life perspective. We want to know how pro-life is this candidate. And what you're going to see here is voting scorecards. And let's read what it says. You can view a National Right to Life scorecard for the important pro-life roll call votes that occurred in the U.S. Senate or the U.S. House of Representatives. And brothers and sisters, you can go all the way back 20 years. You can go back to the 105th Congress and all the Congresses up until the present. The Congress that is currently concluding here at the end of 2018 is the 115th Congress. And a Congress has two sessions. So the 115th Congress started after the last midterms 2 years ago, all right? So you had the elections of 2016. They elected a new Congress. It was sworn in at the beginning of 2017, and it has served for all of 2017. That's called the first session. And then all of 2018, that's the second session of the 115th Congress. So each Congress is 2 years. That's why each midterm is every 2 years. Every 2 years, the entire House of Representatives is reelected, and 1/3 of the Senate. The Senate's terms are 6-year terms. House terms are 2-year terms. So the 115th Congress had a first session and is now at the end of the second session. And during those sessions, a lot of votes took place. This is where we jump towards the bottom of the screen here. You see at the bottom, it says U.S. House, and it says U.S. Senate. So votes took place in the House of Representatives on various bills. Votes took place in the Senate on various bills. Some bills were voted on in both the House and the Senate. Other bills were voted on just in one chamber or the other. A lot of them never make it through the whole process, do not end up on the president's desk, and that's why you'll see a lot of bills repeated from one Congress to another, because the bills get started, and then they may get a vote in the House but never get taken up in the Senate, and then they'll have to be introduced again in the next Congress. But the value of that, as all that happens, is that every member of the House and of the Senate who votes on that bill is now on record as to how they consider that policy articulated in that bill. They are on record as to what kind of vote they cast. And then groups like National Right to Life will look at that record and say, gee, this person voted pro-life the whole time. Or this person voted pro-abortion the whole time. Well, when you go to this link I'm about to click for you, you can see what that record is. And you'll see that the score that the National Right to Life Committee gave them based on all those votes. Let's take a look. This is set right now to the 115th Congress. You see this little drop down. It'll show you all the past Congresses. We won't go back in history right now. We'll just look at the current Congress and we'll say go. And so now this is for the U.S. House of the Congress concluding right now. Let me walk you through this. What you see up here are 8 different bills, 8 different votes, I should say, because sometimes a bill gets more than one vote, depending on the process that it goes through. So you've got 8 votes here that are being tracked. These 8 bills are numbered 1 to 8, and those numbers are reflected over here. You see in blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the votes on each one of these bills. And then, I'll scroll down the page, you see it's divided by state. All the members of the House of Representatives from Alabama are mentioned first here because it's alphabetical. There are 7 representatives in the state of Alabama. And then it shows over here how they voted on each one of these bills, 1 through 8. Now, these are not all the bills they voted on. These are specifically the pro-life related bills, any bills dealing with abortion, because again, this is a scorecard about their pro-life voting, okay? So 1 through 8, you see how they voted, and then the score that National Right to Life gives them. So Alabama has a pretty good record, okay? In fact, as you see here by the R after their name, 6 of the 7 representatives in the Alabama delegation are Republican, and 1 is Democrat. And look at the votes. The X means that they voted pro-life. The X means that they voted the same way that National Right to Life Committee would have wanted them to vote. The 0 means they voted against whatever position the National Right to Life Committee took on that particular bill. And what we have here is the score of these people. And look at this. All the Republicans, and this is not surprising, have a vote that corresponds to what the National Right to Life Committee wanted. And all the Republicans in the Alabama delegation got a 100% score. The lone Democrat voted against the pro-life position every single time and got a score of 0. Interesting, right? And so we have here, actually, if you look through all the states and all the representatives, you are basically going to see that same pattern. That if it's a Republican, and I went over this the other day in one of my other classes, how when you look at the voting records and how they break down on abortion-related votes, it breaks down by party line with very few exceptions. You can count the exceptions on one hand or less than one hand most of the time. So in other words, the Republicans are voting straight the pro-life position. Democrats are voting straight the pro-abortion position. Now, here are the specific pieces of legislation that this is tracking. Let me point out a few of them because they're quite noteworthy. And if you touch on the little plus sign over here, you get an explanation of the bill. The No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act is exactly what it says. It would establish a permanent government-wide policy against funding abortions or health care plans that cover abortions. Knowing that that is the purpose of that bill, and then seeing that that is listed here as bill number 1, okay, and knowing that it would stop government funding of abortion and health care plans that cover abortions, going back down to the chart, you can ask any representative across the country why they voted the way that they did, because their vote on no taxpayer funding is under the number 1 column, and then you can go down, and if they have an X, that means they voted against funding abortion. They voted to protect your tax dollars from going to kill babies. If they were an O, that means they want your tax money to go to help kill babies by abortion. And then you can use this then to challenge them or to challenge your fellow citizens or fellow voters and to say, hey, did you know? Let's say you're in the district of let's see, this Kyrsten Sinema, Democrat from Arizona. Hey, did you know that this person voted against this bill? In other words, she wants your tax money to go for abortion. This chart tells you exactly where they stand. One of the most incredible votes, and we've been pointing this out, is this one here, the number 8. The Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. If you click on the plus here, you see what this is about. In January, the House passed the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, shown here in roll call number 8. Okay, it's described above. Okay, so let's look above here. This would enact an explicit requirement that a baby born alive, brothers and sisters, pay close attention to this, born alive during an abortion. In other words, the baby survived, came out entirely separate from the mother's body, and is still breathing, must be afforded the same degree of care that would be applied to any other child born alive at the same age, including transportation to a hospital. You go down column number 8. 183 Democrats voted against that bill. A bill that would protect babies alive outside the womb. One of the most incredible lessons for this election, and something on which these candidates definitely have to be challenged. So that's how you use this particular tool. Once again, let's take you back to our candidate information page, and it's this tool right here, the CapWiz National Right to Life link. Now there is another one that is similar to this, and that's the one right below it, where you can look up a particular member of Congress by name or by state to see how he or she voted on particular pro-life issues. Let's go there. Let me show you briefly how that works. So we have here this page that shows up, and it says find your elected officials. Okay, you can search by zip code. So let me put in, oh, there's a zip code there. Okay, that's where we are here in Florida. If I hit go, lo and behold, the Florida federal and state legislators and the president and the governor are mentioned here. Okay, so let's say Senator Bill Nelson, he's up for re-election. Let me click on him, and what do I find? What I find is there his picture, information about him, how to contact him, what committees he serves on, what staff he has, and then here, this tab here, the votes that he has taken. When you click that, look what you have, a very neat and clean summary here of the votes that he took, again, on pro-life related measures. Confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh, the date on which the vote was held just a few weeks ago, and look what he voted no. And so therefore, the score is an X. He voted against the position that National Right to Life would prefer. Denying federal funds to abortion providers, he voted no on that as well. The pain-capable bill, protecting babies at 20 weeks of development in the womb and beyond, he didn't even vote on that. And that's one of the questions we're asking Senator Nelson. Why didn't you vote to protect babies 20 weeks or older, 6 months in the womb? And on you can see the various votes here on pro-life measures. It's an excellent way to find out how anyone you want to look up. Now, I did this by putting in my zip code, so I can also see my United States House of Representatives here, Bill Posey. Let me click on him for a moment. There he is. Here are the votes, and now we see how he voted. He voted for, okay, yay, for that Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. He voted for the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. He voted for the taxpayer funding, no taxpayer funding for Abortion Act, for conscience protection, etc. Again, all in one place, a simple guide to how these particular people voted. And you can search not just by zip code, but let's say I went here. Let's say I want to find, again, that Florida Senator Nelson. I click here the box that says Congress. I put in Nelson. I click Go. And then I will find myself here with his name, click on his name, and that's another way of getting to the same box where we were before. And over here we can check out his votes. Now let me go back to our candidates page. Let me show you yet another tool. The Family Research Council also does scorecards. I showed you the scorecards for the National Right to Life Committee, but the Family Research Council does scorecards on Senate votes that are of particular concern to conservatives. So you may be dealing here, you will be dealing here, with a wider range of bills, not just those that are related to abortion. Let's see what the Family Research Council scorecard page is like. Okay, so you get to this nice looking page, and let's just look at this third tab right here. The 115th Congress, the one currently in session, there's a PDF here of the first session votes. Let me call it up here, and let's see what it looks like. It's vote scorecard, 115th Congress, first session, 2017. And then it describes the different bills. So it has to do with, look, this has to do with transgender funding, Obamacare. Let's see, you see some of the same bills that we just looked at over at National Right to Life, the Pain Capable bill, but also you have here another vote that you didn't see at the other one, tax cuts, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So you have a brief description of the bills, and then once again, in a manner similar to what you saw before, you see divided by state and then the names of the representatives. The ones with the blue background are the Republicans. The ones with the white background are, well, no, not actually. No, they're divided instead by the score that they were given by the Family Research Council. And you can see, well, it almost completely divides along party lines, but you can see way over here on the right the score. So if a person always voted the way that the conservative position would represent, the way that the Family Research Council would prefer, they got a score of 100%. Meanwhile, you'll see others with 0%, and you'll see people with numbers somewhere in between. So that is from our friends over at the Family Research Council. We are very grateful for all the work that goes into putting all this together. Now let's say that after all this, there's still information that you haven't been able to find for candidates that are running in your state. Well, friends, then I want to show you another tool. If you go back to our main page, prolifevote.com, and you go to our state information, right there, you see that blue button that says state information. I'm going to click there. All right, voting information for each state, okay? Down here, you see a list of the states. And for each one, there is a phone number, but there is also a link to the website for that state's election. So every state has this state elections website. I want to go, just for the sake of example here, to Colorado, state elections website. If you click there, now we're going over to the state of Colorado's website. And one of the things they have there is election information. And notice it says here, candidates. So again, if you're looking for information about the candidates, let's say you went here and you click the candidates link. Now, every one of these state websites is different, just like all the state laws are different. It's all different. So you have to get used to the website of your particular state, but you should be familiar with it. You go here, and I'm going to look over here on the right. It says 2018 election, and then general election, and look here. It says candidate list. What if I click there? Now, here is a list of all the candidates on the ballot in the 2018 election in the state of Colorado. And look what's here. The candidate's name, the office that he or she is running for, the district, the party they belong to, whether they are an incumbent or write-in, and then the website. So let's say this person, Charles Casper Stockham, I say I don't know anything about that person, I want to find out more, then I can go to his website and get more information. As I scroll down here, you see all these U.S. House candidates. But look, governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, treasurer, attorney general. Then it even goes down to more local races, board of education, CU region, state senate, state house, and then district attorney, and then other offices here as well. Again, with most of them having websites that you could follow and gain a lot of information. Now, what if even going to the candidate's website doesn't satisfy you and the state website didn't have enough information? Well, if all else fails, brothers and sisters, you can go to Google. And if you're going to look up a specific candidate, we did this just the other day with our executive director, Janet Morana. She was filling out her Florida ballot for early voting, absentee voting actually, and she saw the name of a judge on the ballot, and the question was, should the judge be retained? And she said, well, I never heard of this person before. I'm not sure who this person is. She looked up the name on Google. And she found, after looking at a couple of links, she found information about this particular judge that said this judge has been backed by Republican Representative Bill Posey from Florida. Now, he's the same one we just looked at before. He represents our district. And we know that he's a good, solid, pro-life Republican. So for Janet, that was enough. It would be enough for me too. You look and say, hey, if Bill Posey gets behind this particular judge, this is a good conservative judge. And in fact, in the information that we found on Google, the judge had even used the word conservative to describe himself. And so we said, okay. So sometimes the information you're going to find is just going to be there on Google, or sometimes it will be with all of these different tools and resources that I have just shown you briefly. Well, I hope this is helpful. A lot of stuff here to digest. Rewatch this video, but spend time on these websites. That's how you're going to learn. And spend time starting right here at prolifevote.com and right here at candidate information or votinginfo.org and all these different links. Brothers and sisters, you go through the material we've gone through here tonight, you are going to know more about the candidates and how to find information about them than most every person in America. You're going to be in the top echelon of understanding these things. That's why we want to bring you these tools. It's that important for you to use this info and to pass it along to others. We're going to take another break now, and then I'll be back with some concluding remarks. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm a spokesperson for the Democratic Party, and I'm here to tell you why you need to vote blue this November. Democrats are the party of love and tolerance. We promote inclusion and acceptance, peace, and goodwill. Republicans don't care about any of these things. They just want to talk about record unemployment, the economy, and keeping communities safe. Fascists. Democrats have positive, practical priorities like abolishing the Electoral College, eliminating due process, and banning hate speech. These are the values of the American people. Well, at least Americans that live in San Francisco and New York. Republicans often use fear-mongering rhetoric like Constitution or liberty. Democrats condemn such language as divisive and instead focus on more unifying topics like repealing the Second Amendment or kneeling for the national anthem. Democrats are the party of equality, so much so that we insist upon unconditionally believing women and disbelieving men because, well, feminism. If you ask us to explain this logically, we will scream in your face and call you a misogynist. Republicans want to take away a woman's sacred right to choose to have her child decapitated inside the womb and torn apart limb by limb with forceps. Democrats celebrate the right to violently murder your child because we're compassionate. Democrats believe that women are powerful and independent. They are also helpless victims of the patriarchy who require government intervention to succeed. Any woman who disagrees with us on this is a self-hating, stupid bimbo. And you know, it's time someone was finally brave enough to say this. Republicans are racist. Democrats have the same positive message for minorities that we have for women. You're a victim, and you're useful to us. If you disagree, we'll insult your intelligence, but it's for your own good. Republicans want to stop certain people from coming into this country. They cite the infiltration of gang violence or opioids or sex trafficking as reasons to stop illegal immigration. But Democrats accept these as the natural consequences of opening up the borders, which, of course, is the more loving thing to do. Democrats recognize that the key to a better tomorrow is to look forward, not backward. That's why we reject capitalism and all of its greed and instead opt for socialism, which has worked so well every time it's been tried. Democrats are the party of the common people, the poor and the marginalized, the weak and defenseless. While Republicans promise freedom, we promise free stuff. That's how we win over young people. Our goal is to make the government work for you so you don't have to work at all. Republicans are always pushing religion in our faces. We reject their bigotry. Religious people are idiots. Democrats would much rather you sacrifice yourself on the altar of progressivism. The truth is, as the party of empathy, we're just better than everyone else. That's why we spend so much time telling people who don't align with our agenda that they're not just wrong, but that they're bad people. We still haven't figured out that this condescension is what lost us the 2016 election. Nevertheless, we're confident that through censorship, emotional manipulation, and continued bullying that we'll eventually get our way. Why? Because we care about you. So much so that we're willing to wear you down until you fear getting silenced, doxxed, or fired because you don't agree with our agenda. That's love. I'm the spokesperson for the Democratic Party. Vote for us in November.
Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed that parody, ad as if from the Democrats, and showing really what President Trump has said, in other words, that this is really an election of common sense. You know, you don't go against the trend of, lower unemployment, more jobs, higher economy, stronger military, more religious freedom, and so forth. You know, you don't give matches to an arsonist, and you don't give political power to an angry mob. And that was an ad that pretty well makes that point. So I hope you have your hat. Make America Great Again. Many of you are in this great movement. We are moving forward for America, which means for life, for freedom, for family, for marriage, for a strong nation, for putting our nation first, and for articulating and protecting the principles on which it was founded, because those principles are pretty good ideas. And they have attracted people from all over the world, continue to attract people from all over the world, and we have a responsibility to those who have fought and died to preserve those freedoms. As our Star-Spangled Banner says, it ends with a question. Oh, say does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? It's a question. It's saying that, with the rocket's red glare and those who are putting their lives on the line to defend that flag and what it stands for, they did their part. Are you doing yours? Does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave? Are you sacrificing everything? Are you pledging, like our founders did, your lives, your fortunes, and your sacred honor? Do you realize, like they realized, that these principles are worth fighting for, worth offering our lives for, worth preserving and protecting? And are you still fighting? Does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave? Or are you taking it for granted and just coasting along, thinking that the freedom won by the efforts of previous generations is just going to stay with us automatically? It's not automatic. It's got to be fought for and won again in every generation. President Reagan made that comment. We're only a generation away from losing those freedoms. We've got to constantly be fighting for them. And one of the ways we do that is by voting. One of the ways we do that is by taking the time and effort to use the tools I showed you today to really dig deep and find the information we need to know about the people who are asking us for our vote. Yeah, it's cumbersome. Yes, it takes a lot of, believe me, it's no more easy for me than it is for any of you to go digging for that information, find that information. We've got a lot of great groups who have made it very easy, as I've shown you today. But boy, we do have to take the time. We do have to make the sacrifice to make sure we're getting the right people into office, the right parties into power. And that's part of the fight that we're all involved in, to preserve these freedoms, to preserve these principles. And to be able to say to that great question that our great national anthem asks of us, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave? Is it flying still today over the land of the free and the home of the brave? That we are able to answer yes. A resounding yes. And you know what? We've got to answer yes all together in this election. We've got to stand up and say, yes, it still waves over a land that believes in freedom, that believes that people who are citizens and who are believers should never have to be forced to choose between following the law and following their faith. We believe it still waves over a land that professes and protects the sanctity of life, starting by fulfilling the first purpose of government, the protection of life, starting with our youngest children, those yet in the womb. Yes, it waves over a nation that is pro-life. And yes, it waves over a nation that understands that disagreements get resolved not through angry mobs, but through the process of elections, of lawmaking, of lobbying, and of expressing our views in peaceful ways. Yes, it still waves over a nation who knows how to protect itself, how to preserve its borders, how to eliminate the threat of terrorism from its soil, and how to keep itself united under a constitution that has a fixed meaning and that courts do not have the authority to rewrite or to twist to meet the personal preferences of judges or interest groups. Yes, that Star-Spangled Banner does still wave. And we will make sure of that by participating in this election, and whether we have voted yet or not, by getting as many others to participate as well. Go back and get the people who voted 2 years ago. Let's mobilize the new voters, too, who have gotten registered since then. But those that turned out in 2016, each and every one of them has to turn out again. Otherwise, their vote will have been half-wasted. Because the things they wanted to elect President Trump to do, he's ready to do. He's been doing it. But he needs a Congress behind him. Because it's the Congress that has to send him the bills that he wants to sign, to take money away from Planned Parenthood, for example, or to protect babies in the womb. He wants to sign these bills. Congress has to send them to him. The president doesn't make up bills on his own. And he's got to have a Senate that's going to confirm the excellent judges that he's been choosing, that he will continue to choose. You know, he's gotten some 84 judges confirmed on the federal bench. And you know, we did a whole program on this the other day, too. Make the courts great again. And we looked at that and we saw the progress that he's making. But he needs a Senate that's going to be strong, pro-life Republican Senate, because they're going to confirm these good judges, these strong constitutionalist judges that he's appointing all over the country. You don't hear their names, they don't make the headlines. But day after day, he's putting people in place. There's still over 150 vacancies that he needs to fill. He will fill each and every one of them with the best judges possible. But if and only if he's got the Senate to confirm them. There's no way to exaggerate the importance of this election. Let's get out there. Let's do the job we have to do. And I thank you for joining me and for sharing and spreading this video. I want to pray with you now. The prayer that we find at electionprayer.com, electionprayer.com. You can get it in English and in Spanish. Bring it to your church this weekend. Urge your pastor to put it on the parish website, electionprayer.com. Say it in the church at the service or the Mass this weekend. Why not? You be the voice. You be the vehicle. You be the bridge. And friends, tomorrow I will be delivering a special message for the churches as we go into this final weekend before Election Day. I have a message for clergy and church leaders, and that will be aired at 10 o'clock in the morning, Friday, November 2nd, and we will re-air it again. If you can reach out to your pastors tonight or early tomorrow morning and urge them to tune in right here on Facebook and watch that message, I'm sure it's a message you're going to want them to hear. So let's pray together now, the election prayer for life. Oh God, we acknowledge you today as Lord not only of individuals, but of nations and governments. We thank you for the privilege of being able to organize ourselves politically, and of knowing that political loyalty does not have to mean disloyalty to you. We thank you for your law, which our founding fathers acknowledged and recognized as higher than any human law. We thank you for the opportunity that this election puts before us to exercise our solemn duty not only to vote, but to influence countless others to vote and to vote correctly. Lord, we pray that your people may be awakened. Let them realize that while politics is not their salvation, their response to you requires that they be politically active. Awaken your people to know that they are not called to be a sect fleeing the world, but rather a community of faith renewing the world. Awaken them that the same hands lifted up to you in prayer are the hands that pull the lever in the voting booth, that the same eyes that read your word are the eyes that read the names on the ballot, and that they do not cease to be Christians when they enter the voting booth. Awaken your people to a commitment to justice, to the sanctity of marriage and the family, to the dignity of each individual human life, and to the truth that human rights begin when human lives begin, and not one moment later. Lord, we rejoice today that we are citizens of your kingdom. May that make us all the more committed to being faithful citizens on earth. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And now may the Lord bless you. May he protect you and all your loved ones, answer all your prayers, and give you the strength to make a difference in this election. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father Frank Pavone here of Priests for Life, thank you for joining us, and watch, please, these final messages. God bless you.
Hello, I'm Evangelist Alveda King. I'm blessed to work with Priests for Life, one of the largest and most visible pro-life ministries in the world. Our whole team relies on your financial support to be able to do our work, produce our programs, and travel the world to advocate for the unborn. May I ask you to support us generously? Go today to prolifedonation.org and give as generous a gift as you can. We appreciate it and will pray for you each day.
Many pro-life people worked hard to elect President Donald Trump. That hard work has paid off for the pro-life movement and the unborn. Here are just some of the pro-life accomplishments of the president and his administration. Number 10. President Trump has called on Congress to pass key pro-life legislation to protect babies and defund the abortion industry. Number 9. President Trump has filled his administration with strong pro-life people in key positions. Number 8. President Trump has ended the HHS mandate, forcing employers to cover abortion in health insurance. Number 7. President Trump set up new conscience protections for those who refuse to participate in abortions. Number 6. President Trump ended the secrecy about which health insurance plans cover abortion. Number 5. President Trump stopped funding the abortion industry overseas. Number 4. President Trump protected your tax dollars from funding abortion through Title X. Number 3. President Trump gave the states the right to stop funding Planned Parenthood and abortion. Number 2. President Trump appointed 2 pro-life Supreme Court justices and dozens of other pro-life federal judges. And the number one thing, the first and greatest thing that President Trump did for the pro-life movement was to keep Hillary Clinton out of the White House. To all of you who voted for President Trump in 2016, congratulations. Your vote paid off. But be sure to get out and vote again this 2018 midterm election so that the president has a strong pro-life Congress to enable him to continue winning more victories for the cause of life.
Hello, I'm Evangelist Alveda King. I'm blessed to work with Priests for Life, one of the largest and most visible pro-life ministries in the world. Our whole team relies on your financial support to be able to do our work.